for those of you that are jumping in, so I've known Mike and Fayez probably for about 5 years now. Met these guys. They were awesome people showing up to my trainings when I would teach in Fort Mill. They're the kind of student that you learn early on in the class. You're either really really going to like them, or you're going to be really, really irritated with them by the time you get to the end of the class. And the reason is because they question everything, but they question everything on how it applies, which is awesome. So it's been fun to watch these guys, and we'd sent out their bio, and they can talk a little bit about themselves, but it was fun to watch two guys that had established really good real estate businesses as individuals, not even like okay businesses. Like they both ran really strong businesses, and then they wanted to create a team. And I don't know that if I've ever told you guys this, but I know that they reached out to a lot of people in the region. They reached out to Kent. I think I talked to you guys a little bit. And, as you know, two people partnering up isn't normally the model, right? So at first we're like, why are these guys even going to do that? They're running these great businesses. Like, what the heck are they doing? So fast forward, they formed their team, Carolina's Dream Team, back in 2018. And fast forward, you guys are year to date, almost $1 million in GCI. I think you figured it out. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt in whether or not it works. So I'm honored to have you guys here. I appreciate your time. For those of you that are joining us, get ready for some great information from these guys. The good news is too is they're fun to hang out with, right? So this isn't going to be a dull meeting by any stretch of the imagination. As long as we can keep the Jersey talk to a minimal, we should be good.
Don't worry. I balance the Jersey. I'm a good old Sparkle City boy, so I'm South Carolina through and through.
There you go. So with that, before we jump into Vince's questions, like give us, you sent our bio, but give us a quick intro. You guys, what you're about and why you like to be here and what you want to share.
Awesome. Go ahead, Mike.
So for me, I found that so I grew up, my parents owned a cheesesteak shop, right? So then I went to college for a couple of years, got really good at drinking beer and stuff, and then college wasn't working out for me. So I joined the Marine Corps, got out of the Marine Corps, went back to college for psychology, and while I was doing that, I was working at Home Depot. I found that I really liked working at Home Depot. I really liked selling construction materials and stuff. So from there, I went and got a job selling concrete and steel in Florida. At that point, I saw the guys in new home sales in the air conditioning making $150,000 a year, like people walking through the door to them. So I switched to new home construction. And then in 2008, the market started to tank, and I transferred up to Fort Mill, South Carolina with David Weekly Homes. Did that for about 9 years. And then 2014, jumped out into general brokerage with Keller Williams and started my own team. For me, I just found that all of my life experiences that I've had, real estate is like the one thing in my life that I'm good at. So it was just a natural fit for me, an easy transition, and been doing it ever since I found it.
I came to real estate a little bit more roundabout as well. I was a defense contractor. My background is in international relations, so I was working on African political issues, and I was before I moved to Fort Mill. I was living in Germany and working as a defense contractor there with the military guys, and never had bought a house. Never knew. I didn't know anything about real estate, and so when I came here, I was thinking, okay, let me get into the investment side, right? I knew I wanted to form a business. I wanted to have some ownership of something, and that entrepreneurial spirit in me was kind of pushing me into, hey, let's build an investment group. Let's buy a couple of homes, run them, flip them, whatever it was. Obviously, I got my license at the same time, and I thought the residential side would be, kind of like a side business. Well, obviously, I just happened to land in one of the hottest real estate towns in the region, right? Fort Mill, Charlotte is super hot. And all that started to build upon itself. It took me a little bit slower time period to get started, but I knew nothing about real estate when I got in. I'd never bought a home. I didn't know anything about mortgages or anything like that. Because of my past job, I had no social media. I had no sphere in Charlotte. So I came from disadvantages in the industry, right? That would say you're probably not going to succeed but I really plugged in. I went to classes. Like I went to classes all the time. Like every single class that Joseph has taught, I've been in it. And I'm not doing that just to like blow him up. He is a great teacher, and I've learned a lot from people like Mike. Mike was actually my mentor when I started out at Keller Williams Fort Mill, and then we built a business and joined together in 2018 and created Carolina's Dream Team.
That's awesome and unbelievable. Both really cool stories. So talk to me about kind of you went into who you are, but what would you guys say your superpowers are?
So it's weird. We read Rocket Fuel as a team just a little while ago, right? And then they talked about the visionary and the implementer. But even a year before that, there were some members of my team that had actually given me an award, like a superpower award that we did, and I was the visionary. And so I've accepted that, and I see that more of my role now as like the business development visionary type of guy on the team.
I love that. That's awesome. I love that book. It's an awesome book.
And again, we learned that without knowing it, I was the implementer. I think because of my life experience and you know the background in psychology and things, I was able to relate to a lot of people on our team. Faz is more the business mind. He helps us with where we're going, and I can rally the team and help us to get there a little bit.
That's awesome. Let me ask this. You don't typically see partners in real estate. And I'm looking at the audience to see one of them, Sean Templeton. I know that Sean and Kristen Whitehead have been partners for a long time. But I would love, you talk about being the visionary and the implementer and how that breaks up. What do you think kind of sets you guys apart from being able to really partner up and be together and grow a team together, which is, to a lot of people, something different in real estate?
Yeah, so I'd say that it all started. We were at family reunion in 2017, and at the time, Gary was just talking about how a shift is coming. Shore up your sphere, you know, get back to basics, do all these things. And at the time, I had brought a sphere for new home sales, and that was kind of the base of my business. So I had a little bit higher price point. Fayaz had built networking groups and built investment groups. So he naturally had a little bit lower price point at the time. And we just saw that maybe we would be better equipped to handle a shift if we did it together. We'd have a larger client base, a larger price point base. And then once we got into it, I think we found that just our skills and weaknesses complement each other. It's just worked well, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, we did all the basics. You know, we career visioned each other. We talked to other partnerships around the region and around the country, which at the time, 3 years ago, there weren't as many as there were now. I can tell you for a fact that Mark Brenneman was like, don't do it. My OP was like, don't do it. My TL was like, don't do it. And at a certain point, you just have to believe that the person that you're talking to believes in some of the same vision that you do. We had very clear-cut conversations about what were the negotiables and what were the non-negotiables, respectfully, right? And at a certain point, you just take a jump. You take a leap of faith. And I will say that over the course of the first year, with some growing pains, but Mike and I, 3 years later, have still not had a major disagreement. We also put everything out there on paper. Everything is legally bound. They'll figure it out later. We are in advance. You know, we talk to the accountants, we talk to the lawyers, we talk to everyone before we created anything.
That's awesome. I love that. And can you also talk that there's this concept, I think I heard it from Jason Abrams and Brian Gubernick, and I'm sure people have said it before, this concept of when you're working with a team, there's an individual that's responsible for growing the business and an individual responsible for running the business. And very similarly, you've got the integrator or the implementer and the visionary. How has that worked with both of you?
I think it's worked out awesome. We basically fit ourselves into our natural strengths. You know, I'm not a good implementer. I'm a business development guy. I'm always thinking, right? I'm trying to engage with our agents. I'm trying to build out our business and bring in new ideas. Mike is the guy that's like, hey, slow down, take a step back, right? Let's think about something else, which I love, which is what I need in my life. I have that with my wife as well. Mike is my work wife. You know, so that's where I think we really complement each other. I can truly say like that we have a yin yang type of personality where his strengths are my weakness and vice versa.
Yeah, I'll say that when we were both running our own individual teams, I had built a $15 million a year business, but I wasn't going to grow much more. I was stuck there. And give you a brief example, like last week, we're talking about we're driving towards our goals. We have these lofty goals of our region, and Fayaz is very, very competitive. I'm not nearly as competitive as he is. So when we're shooting for top 10 in the region and we hit 13 or whatever it was, he was disappointed by that. And I didn't say, let's not share that disappointment with the team. I mean, what we've accomplished is amazing. Let's just keep everybody pumped up and keep going and not minimize what we've been able to accomplish, what they've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, super good points. Let me ask you this: in building your business, especially given the fact that you guys are building it together, what has been the most challenging obstacle you've had to overcome?
Hiring right. Well, systems, processes, and hiring right. My fantastic admin who's our current director of operations. So we had a little bit of a foundation that was already set. And then my administrative assistant at the time, I was not in that role for long. She became Mike and I have invested time in career visioning from the onset. Before we were even together, we'd already taken it individually. On team taking career visioning. If you want a management role in Carolina's Dream Team, there are certain requirements that you have to check off those boxes before you can have any kind of say in those decisions. One of those being,
I love it. So for those that don't know, what's career visioning?
Career visioning is basically Keller Williams's system and methodology of how you go about the hiring process, right? Whether it's from the interview process to the person 30, 60, 90 days are coming onto your team. What are the processes that you have to put into place? It allows us, for example, to really highlight red flags. When you're first starting career visioning, you're going to probably ignore some of that stuff. But the more you do that process, we've really come to trust it. When I was an individual agent, Lance Loken came to our market center and spoke to the ALC. And I clearly remember the words that he said to us. He's like, I don't cheat career visioning. And so what I tell myself is like, if Lance Loken here is not cheating career visioning, why should I?
Yeah, I love that. Mike, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say in addition, just creating systems that are scalable. We knew what worked for us individually, but like in the MREA, they talk about the ceilings that you hit and breaking through those. We found that at each level of business that we've done, we've run into walls, and we've had to learn how to adjust our systems and change things so that we can break through that and take the next step.
What would you say go ahead. I love what you said. I wrote that down too, is the really buying into the career vision. You really highlight red flags. This is a great way to put it. What do you think what was a red flag that you probably could admit that you ignored the most? Or was there anything, or something that you had normally skipped? Because and by the way, great point. We all do that. We start career visioning. We're like, we'll do part of it.
So I know one thing was that we can make people sometimes be better than maybe what we're seeing, like making them great, right? We're really good at growing people, right? But Mike and I have limitations to what we can do. And sometimes I think we've ignored maybe some work ethic red flags that we saw right away, because we're like, oh, they'll be better once they're in the team and once they see us.
Interesting.
For Carolina's Dream Team, we know what works well for us. We want high performers. We want intellectual people. We want people who can work at a high level so that we can also be challenged. It's not just about us challenging them. That was a red flag for our first 2 hires that I remember that didn't really work well, and we kind of, and that becomes a cultural fit for us because everyone on our team is like that. So it becomes part of our culture.
Interesting. Thank you.
I think we've been in interviews before where people that we're interviewing didn't necessarily show fire, didn't really, we didn't really feel it from them, but they had the skills, they had the talent, they had everything that they needed to be wildly successful. But the part that was missing was the fire. And we thought we could instill that into them. And I think that's something you just have to have.
Interesting.
I love that. And it's funny to me also when you talk about the obstacles, right? Fayez, you went straight to people. Visionary, right? The visionary is typically that's going to be a challenge. And Mike, you went straight to systems. As an integrator, as an implementer, you go to systems being the challenge. Really interesting to hear. And that was a big aha that I just had. But let me ask you this. So for you guys, I mean, you wear a lot of hats, you're building a massive business, you're leading a lot of people. What are the keys for you in managing time and staying focused to ensure that you succeed all the roles that you take on?
Google Calendar.
Yeah. I remember I took my first bold when I had just gotten out of Ignite. I was drinking the hose and I was overwhelmed about it. But the one thing I took away from that bold was if it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. And I remember saying that to my wife when I went home, and she thought I was crazy because she had a dinner plan. It wasn't on the calendar. And I said, it's not on the calendar. It doesn't exist. I mean, we still went to dinner, right? But we still went to dinner. But now that has become the way I operate in business and the way I operate in my personal life. She calendars it, I calendar it, and that's the way it is. And so our team operates that way.
Same thing. If anybody wants time with us, if they want to schedule anything, if there's a hole in our calendar, put it there. We live by it. I'm 48 years old now, and I'm finding that I don't remember anything. So I need it to be on my Google Calendar in order for it to happen.
So a lot of people
talk about natural behavior for you.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people talk about
natural.
Oh, go ahead, Joseph. What are you saying?
All right, so that was something that just came naturally to you, like, or is that a learned behavior?
What, losing the memory or the calendaring part?
No. No, I'm sorry. What was your name again? No, I can relate to that. The calendaring, like that's real. There's a lot of people who speak that language but don't walk the walk.
Absolutely not natural for me. And as an individual agent, I barely used my calendar at all. I put listing appointments and buyer appointments on it, but that was it. It's definitely when you have more people and more things going on and we're just busier, it was necessary. And now once I got used to it, now I live by it.
I did it from the beginning, from the business. Again, I didn't have bad habits from the beginning. So everything I was being taught, I was doing.
Right.
So when they were talking about it in bold, I was like, okay, let me do this. And I was kind of already doing it because I couldn't keep up with stuff. And I remember one time Jay White was teaching Win with Sellers. And I talked about, hey, whenever I have a home inspection, whenever I have a closing, whenever I have this, I immediately put that on my calendar and I put my client on it. And I feel like it's a very professional way of showing your client that you're organized. I mean, that's how corporate works. So why, as real estate agents, should we not be doing the same kind of behavior? And people in the class were like, whoa, that's a new concept. And I was like, well, it's just Google Calendar. I'm not inventing anything, it's just there. I just do it and I invite my clients to it. And then we've expanded that system, obviously, to a much larger scale now. Everybody on the team operates with it.
I love that. You hear a lot of people, and on all these calls, I feel like there's common themes, right? A challenge being people, hiring, right? Another common theme is to stay focused, I time block. Seems logical, right? Yet the rebuttal to that is usually going to be, well, I don't necessarily love structure and I enjoy flexibility. How have you seen calendaring and time blocking actually increase your flexibility, if you have?
Well, you've got 6 kids, so you need it.
Yeah.
So
I have 6 children, right? So I've constantly have, cheerleading to go to, or dance competitions to go to, or soccer games to go to, or something. There's always something. So for me, the freedom that it has given me is those going on. So I went from being in new home sales before, when I worked all the time and didn't get to go to my kids' things, to now they become to hit just about everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with Mike. I mean, I think once it's down there, for example, I know Mike at 2:30 on Wednesday, I'm not scheduling anything. That's when he has to go pick up Liza. I know that because I've worked with him for that. Teams that. Like, it allows them because you can control your schedule a little bit more. Now, I'm also going to be realistic that we also work 12, 14-hour days, but we calendar the majority of those days, majority of those hours.
I love it. That's awesome. That's a good answer. So let me ask you this. These have been crazy times, naturally. 2020, heck of a year. What steps have you taken to lead?
It's been an awesome year, Vincent.
It's been a fantastic year. Probably one of the best. What steps have you guys taken to lead your team and specifically also your clients through these fascinating times? I mean, as humans, we don't love uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. So what have you guys done to lead your people?
Yeah, so I was in this business in 2008 when the world started to come crashing down. So when I saw this happen, I freaked out and totally got back to basics. It's kind of like the first time when I was an individual agent, and the first time I hired an admin, and I was like, holy cow, I'm responsible for paying this person $30,000 a year. And so I just started lead generating on a regular basis again, put my nose to the grindstone and do the things that we know that works. We did the same thing in that we started to lead our team by example. So we got, how many sales and buyers do we have in the first?
Yeah, so in April and May, like Mike and I closed 24 deals between the two of us, because in March, we don't know what's going to happen. So we literally just were like, boom, let's just hit it hard, and let's just show the team what's possible. Because the majority of our, or at least 2 to 3 weeks, work from home. They've got that they're not used to seeing for 8 hours are all up in their business, right?
Can you repeat that? You broke up a little bit.
Sorry. What I was saying is, like, we had people who were stressed for a good part of March, and so Mike and I actually just went back to basics. We had 24 in April and May, and that was just us. That was not the team. So what we were showing the team was the business is there. You just have to get back to the basics and really lead generate. And to be honest, you have to fish out some deals that might not have been as easy as it was 2 months ago. Real estate just got a little bit harder, and you have to be okay with that. So the creative agent, I think, comes out perfectly fine on the end.
So we did 2 dual agency deals during that time, where I had a client that needed a home and there wasn't one on the market. Fayaz had a client who knew a home that needed to be for sale. And we were put together. I was able to get a listing, get my buyer, he got the seller, and then help them buy another home. So we got 4 transactions out of homes that people on
the market.
And the other thing was we started more every day because we were fired up. We were working 80-hour weeks. We were doing whatever it took to pull the team through this because we didn't know what was going to happen. So 9 a.m. every morning, we had the entire team on a Zoom call. We had everybody on the team teaching a class every day. Wow. So for example, we had one team member that came from insurance, and he taught a class on insurance, which a lot of us didn't really know much about. We have our hippie chick buyer's agent who taught a class on meditation. And so everybody brought something every day. And to keep everybody's minds going, we demonstrated that you could find business even when it seems like the world is coming to an end. And I think that really helped to pull them through, energize them, and we took off from there.
Made some really good points. Specifically, I love the concept of going back to the basics. I love the idea of leading by example and the creativity and in the involvement of your team. Yeah, what do you think gets us all away from the basics? Like, I feel like that's also been something that we've heard a lot is we just went back to the basics, the foundation. We went back, I wrote it down. You said, we just went back and did things that we know worked. What got you away from that in the first place?
Well, I mean, it's overcomplicating it, right? Yeah, it's no different. The other day, someone was talking about during Corona, we went back to budget constraints, right? Cutting back some things. When you're in growth mindset, when you're in a growth trajectory, the net just gets wider. Yet the hours in the day remain the same, right? But then when you have a time of difficulty, okay, you need to bring that net in, and that refocuses on what the activities need to be. I think it's just a natural way of being. Now, I'll say this, that our team consistently still focuses on the basics. We still have, we're still re-engaging with our past clients and our database. That is a foundation of Carolina's Dream Team. But as you grow, the net does get wider.
Really good points. Mike, you have anything to add?
No, I think you pretty much covered it there.
Yeah, it was a good answer. Appreciate you guys. So let me ask you this. What would you say, so if you were to leave the group, or toward the end of our time, I want to respect you guys before we open it up to questions, but if you were to leave the group with one piece of advice, what would it be?
So our entire business is based, we're at Keller Williams Realty, which is the best training organization. And we have, our R&D department, which is rip off and duplicate, right? So we have not invented anything. Everything that we've done, we've stolen it from somebody else. We've rebranded it, and we've just implemented it. When we got started in the business, we took every class that was available, and we listened to the people who were more successful than us and better than us, and we just did what they did. And I think that's been key for our success, and it will continue to be the key for us going forward.
R&D, rip off and duplicate. You gotta love that. How about you?
That's that military talk right there.
How about you, Faiz? What do you feel?
Just to kind of piggyback to that is taking it to the next level. Whenever we are implementing something, so whether you're an individual agent or whether you are selling 200 homes a year, if your mindset is a growth mindset, I'm always looking at scalable systems, right? Today I'm selling 20 homes. Well, with the same system, I can get 50 homes. We try to stress test everything that we do, because at this point we're a pretty large ship, right? We're selling 200 plus homes. It's a lot slower. We stress test everything and make sure that we can have it work for 5 clients before we try to implement that on 50 clients.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. The stress test piece, really interesting. Awesome. How can everybody, and by the way, how big is your team? Like, what's the organizational model of your team? You have admin, how many agents do you have? Can you go through that real quick?
Mike and I are the team leads. We still sell, both buyers and sellers. We have a full-time listing agent on staff. And by the way, guys, this is a great time to recruit cooperating agents. Our two most recent experienced agents came from cooperating deals that we conducted in the last 6 months. Our listing agent came from Remax. She was a 10-year agent. She's phenomenal and has plugged in and doing an awesome job. We have 4 buyers agents. We have 2 buyers. We have our promotions, marketing coordinator, and then we have a couple of virtual assistants as well.
So from an operations standpoint, how many people was that?
Like 14 people right now, but still growing.
Wow, that's awesome. So cool. Well, let me open it up. There's who has some questions for Mike and Faiz? You guys must have crushed it.
Must
Not
have
all
covered everything.
That's what we do. We crush it.
Mic drop.
Can you hear me?
Everybody get in
Can
touch
you hear me?
with Charlotte.
Yes. Sarah, go ahead.
Um, you all said a couple of times that you went back to basics, and when you say you went back to basics and were really crushing it, were you working the phones mainly, talking to past clients, or how were you getting back to basics?
Yes, we used Gary's scripts. When this all started happening, he said that we should reach out to our sphere and say, "How are you doing? How can we help?" That's what we did. We reached out to all of our past clients. We reached out to our entire sphere via phone, via text, via Facebook, and we just said, "How you holding up? And is there anything we can do to help you?" And the success we had from that was ridiculous.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm not as good on the phone. I am definitely better on social media, as Joseph can probably attest. I'm all over Facebook, Facebook Messenger. I'm strong on that, and texting. I'm good on that. The bottom line, Sarah, is don't worry how the methodology is. Just do the activity.
Awesome. How did you find your strengths? Like, as you mentioned, I'm really good with social media. I'm not as good on the phone. Mike, you said I got on the phone and called my past clients and said, "How you doing?" How did you get into those strengths, and what was kind of the one thing that was most important in getting into those strengths?
Facebook, like I said, when I started in the business, I didn't even have a Facebook account 5 years ago because of the world. I just have always, that's been my thing. I connect with people on social media, friends, family, colleagues. That's for me a little bit easier way to connect with people. And I still feel there's some authenticity to me on social media, and it's part of our source business for our team.
Mm-hmm.
So I just continued that.
Makes sense.
And I'd say I just tend to connect better with people when I can hear their voice, they can hear my voice. Maybe it's the background in psychology, I don't know, but just I find that people connect better with me when I'm speaking to them versus typing to them.
Love it. That's really cool. Good input, guys, and really appreciate your time. How can everybody get a hold of you?
Definitely check us out. Google us, Carolina's Dream Team. We'll probably be one of the first ones that come up there. It should be the only one. Facebook is a great way to reach out to us. If you want to email us, it's basically Fayaz at Carolina's Dream Team and Mike at Carolina's Dream Team. We'd love to answer any questions offsite. And if you have any clients who are moving to the area, we'd love to help them as well.
And I also say, like, things like this are energizing for us, right? So I get a little dopamine rush because I'm so thankful for all the people that gave their time as we were building this team. So for anybody who's on this call, if you have any questions for us at any time, feel free to reach out to us. Like, we'll make time for you.
That's awesome. I appreciate that part of with you guys. One of the things I wrote down to ask as a question, I think you kind of answered is, what do you do to create that because you guys do, like, your team. Like, one of the stories that I've told is, I teach business planning clinic, for those of you who don't know, not necessarily the most exciting info, right? Like, it's like digging in, math, planning. Are you kidding me? And when y'all are there, not only are y'all excited to be there, like, your team is excited to be there. And by the way, their whole team is there. They're all there together for it. And they're there to engage. And by the way, I think you also then do it again with your team. Yes, you don't just do it in the group.
I just did it this past week. So I already reserved our Airbnb for our 2021 business retreat in middle of October. So that's already on the book. That's a non-negotiable. Like, every single person on the team is going to go to business planning, whether you are the marketing coordinator or whether you're the rainmaker. Everyone's going to be there.
Awesome. Love to help if I can on that. But anyway, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll reach out to you.
This has been awesome. Anybody have any other questions before we let Mike and Fayaz go? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Well, you guys know how to get in touch with us. Well, feel free, please. We love to help. And we're all about coming from contribution. Just like Joseph has poured into us over the years and really taught us a lot about the business, we'd love to give back to you guys any way we can.
This is awesome. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. And
thank you, everybody. We appreciate you.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Jump into a couple of mastermind groups, just break it off into two. And this has been a fascinating time. I think we got a lot of awesome tidbits from Mike and Fayaz. That was really cool. They're building something big. So Tiffany or Kristen, are you guys breaking us up into groups? And Joseph, what are the topics that we want to mastermind on?
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, it's, does anybody, from what you heard from these two guys, is there anything that popped out that you want to chat about? I heard a lot of, it's like you said, I think this event, this is probably the 6th or 7th time we've done it, is a perfect example of, it always comes back to the basics, right? It really always comes back to the basics. But every time, like I've known these guys, we've talked about I'm like hanging on every word. I'm like, tell me more of this amazing information I've never heard. And it's like, oh, we've heard it. So what, is there anything in particular out of that? They talked about their time blocking. They talked about their energy. I love the fact that they went back to the basics and showed up for their team. What an amazing, way to kind of lead by example. What else? Anything else on there that you guys wanted to talk about? I think those could be good ones.
I love the back to the basics things. Like what's everybody doing from a back to the basics standpoint to, like, what are we actually doing? What are we actually implementing in our business to get back to the basics? That would be something I want to talk about.
Let's do that.
Hey,
let's start with that.
Vince, can we have back to the basics include like follow-up after sale follow-up?
Yeah, absolutely. It can. Yeah, absolutely. In the group, we're going to just break into 2. So in your group, mention that 100%. And let's just talk about that. Let's talk about the foundational pieces that we've gotten away from and how we get them back into our business so that we can continue to push forward. Is that good, Joseph?
It works for me.
What was that?
It was a beer.
Man, you get me one?
It was not. It was sparkling water. All right, let's break up.
Break us up.